I am finally back with a video on this YouTube channel. It is, it felt like it's been like 3 weeks since I made a video. That's like what, 3 days. But anyways, yeah. The reason for my long ass absence, for the guy that requested this video as well, he's probably wondering where the fuck is this dude at. I asked for this like 3 weeks ago. It's like ordering something at McDonald's and they deliver to you like 3 weeks later. I'm like, bro, you're a bit late here. But anyways, yeah. So. The reason for my long ass absence is because the first couple of days when I was trying to get information on this video, my laptop charger decided to kill itself for some reason. It decided spark up out of nowhere, like I just spilled a glass of water on it, and it just started sparky, and I had to plug that shit out and throw it in the bin. And for some reason, Joy says they didn't have any fucking chargers for the laptop. You're supposed to be in an electrical store and you didn't have a working charger for it. I spent like 50 quid on like a charger that has like universal ports for like a laptop, and none of those work for the laptop at all. I'm like, bro, give me back my money. I am not getting robbed. So I had to pretty much order a charger online, and that took a couple of days to come. So meanwhile, while I had no laptop, I basically used my phone. But using my phone, I might as well just be using a fucking brick or something, because I was trying to look at episodes on Look Movie on my phone, and it just wouldn't work. It was kind of working grand at first. It was just a smaller screen. That's pretty much the only difference of it, and I wouldn't be able to be as precise with like what parts I want to go to on the time zone. But that's about it. But then for some reason, my phone just like gained autism or something and just started, restarting and shutting off on its own whenever I tried to watch like a certain episode of Ninja Turtles. I was trying to watch the episode where Tiger Claw first gets introduced, and my phone's just like, I don't know, scared of tigers or something. And it's like, just keep restarting the whole time. I just couldn't watch an episode properly or gather any information. So yeah, there was that. And then when my laptop charger did come, I was watching like, I was trying to be honest, I was trying to watch every episode with like Karai and all the important ones with April in the series, because I'm trying to get more like better at like getting information from my videos and editing and stuff, and like writing down notes on my phone. I have like a lot of notes. I have like over fucking 43. I have 43 pages of like notes on my phone. That's a lot of stuff. But yeah, I realized as well, there's a lot of stuff I wrote that I didn't need to write. I wrote stuff for like season 5. I'm not going to be covering season 5. Season 5 is like a unicorn. That doesn't exist to me. The story ended at like season 4. I don't know why they made a season 5, because I don't know. They just needed a quick season while waiting for the new Ninja Turtle show to come out. Whatever that means. But yeah, the story ends at season 4. Season 5 is like a DLC. Season 5 is just like a deluxe package, like bonus content, pretty much. Like I like season 5. I thought it was pretty cool. But it's just like, it's just not really Ninja Turtles, and it's called Tales of Ninja Turtles. Just make it into a separate show. Why are you going to make another season for a show, but then call it a different name? But then anyways, yeah, I finally got all the notes down for April and Karai, and I'm having them in little neat sections. I'm going to be starting off with April, so without further ado, April, I have them down in sections. April as a damsel. Now, at the very start of the series, April, she's just seen as a regular NPC. She's just seen as a regular civilian that the Turtles, come across. And they know the first one to notice actually is, Don. He got stiffy as soon as he seen her, and then Raph had to slap some sense in her and being like, "It's the only woman you ever seen, bro. All right, chill the fuck out." So they seen her like get kidnapped by the Krang, and she wasn't really able to do anything. She has like no training, no fighting experience or anything. She's pretty much just a regular ass person getting robbed by little evil Terminators, and the Turtles, they go to save her. So she does actually try to do, like, she is still kind of try to escape. She tries to fake a stomach ache, like she's like she got food poisoning or something. She nearly does get out, but then the Krang just plop her back into the cell. Donnie saved her from the helicopter, but they still took her dad. And yeah, pretty much that's like her in the first season of the series. She didn't really do much. She's just like one of the boys in the series. She wasn't like a Kunoichi yet or anything. She didn't do any fighting with Splinter. She's pretty much there, like, she's just showing up at the homie's gaff. And then we have her in the second season. In the second season, I have another section of her. I said that was the first season. Those are only the first 2 episodes. The first season, she would also have moments where she wouldn't be fighting, but she would be, a pretty good spy. I can't lie. It's like, playing Mary Jane in that new Spider-Man game on PS5. Where you have to like be a spy with her because she can't fight for shit. She's kind of basically like that. So the first episode I'm mentioning is the episode after they got absolutely clobbered by I was about to say some guy I know clobbered by the Shredder, bro. The Turtles, they thought they had it all in the bag. They thought they were kicking ass. They thought they were so great. But then when Shredder came along, he started spanking their asses like he was a dad, punishing them for doing something bad at school or whatever, because Yeah, he absolutely murdered them nearly. And then Splinter, he got pretty strict on him, be like, yo, you're gonna be training fucking non-stop, bro. You're gonna be like full-time training. It's like you're gonna be working at the office, except the office is the dojo. You're just gonna be training so many hours, bro. You're not gonna stop until you have this shit down. So pretty much, her role was this. It was pretty important. She was basically a spy for the Turtles, and she gave a pizza to the Purple Dragons, and they took that shit right off of her because they're low-level scumbags that pretend to offer you their protection, but they're really just exploiting you for like money and cash. And she gave him a bug pizza that had like a microphone underneath. She's doing YouTube Let's Play with pizza microphone, and she's basically listening to what they're saying. They're saying they're gonna meet Shredder at his place later on. He has like a plan to destroy the Turtles. So then later on, she sneaks into the building. She does a little bit of parkour. She fakes being an office. She fakes being an officer, and then she goes into some guy's house, climbs up the building, and then hops across the building, nearly falling off. She listens to Shredder's plan, and she nearly escapes, except Dog Pound. He has like little, he's like a little special nose like a dog. He's able to smell a lot. So she gets captured by them, and then the Turtles have to go save her. But if it wasn't for her, they would have never found out that the Shredder was planning douse in the entire sewers with like gasoline or whatever flammable liquid he was using to burn the entire sewers. That is fucking mad. That is a bit dark as well for a kid's show. This next one this one's actually a pretty good episode. Where this one's actually the first one where she actually tries fight back. So in this episode, Karai is pretty much after her. Shredder at this point he's teamed up with the Krang, and the Krang, they basically want like your one called April O'Neil because she has like this special DNA or some shit. It's like the cure to cancer or whatever, and they need it. So Shredder's like, all right, I'll get it for her. It's like a shopping list, but you're gonna get a little minor for her for evil robot. So he sends Karai out after her, and at first she doesn't know it's Karai until Karai reveals herself. She only found out it was Karai because Karai wanted her to reveal herself. And at first, Karai kind of has the upper hand. April tries to get away, but she ends up being cornered in like an alleyway, and she tries to fight Karai. Fair play to her for trying to fight Karai. She could have just pussied away, kind of carried away, still tried to run away. She did have like the opportunity to run away as well, because when she got cornered in the alleyway, she's behind Karai. She's like on the opening side. She could just be like, "I see you later, nerd. Goodbye." But she still decided to fight Karai. That's guts. And she just gets the shit kicked out of her, to be honest. Karai only lets her get one hit. But yeah, Karai's just, slapping her about the place. And she still manages to beat Karai by tricking her, by basically saying, yo, I lost my mother. And then Karai, has her in an arm lock. She stops like, wait, you're also, like, motherless? So am I. We have so much in common. So then she basically just, flips Karai over and chucks her down the stairs. So yeah, she's not able to fight, but she's able to... she still tries, like, she still kind of puts up an effort. So now we're on to season 2. I'm just seeing how much is left. Yeah, season 2. In this one, she really shows how much of a useless piece of shit she is to the Turtles, because she's trying to keep up with the Turtles, but since they're trained ninjas and she's just a regular ass person, she can't really do much, She just kind of, they're doing flips. She's already panting like she's out of breath. Like, she'd like run like a whole marathon, and she can't really keep up with them, and she gets into the office, and she can't fight the Krang as well. They're like robots, and she still can't do anything. It's like they have a liability with her or something. It's like they're babysitting a child, pretty much. Leo literally tells her to stay put with Kurtzman. The fact that basically in this episode, this guy called Kurtzman was spying on the Turtles. Basically, taking pictures of them and all, and he's trying to get information on them, and they find Kurtzman, and then. They found where Krang hideout is, and they're trying to use April's DNA for some. So they go to TCRI. That's what the hideout was called, and they basically plan to delete all of like April's DNA because they need that shit for like an invasion, and the Turtles are trying to make sure he doesn't have that. So they end up going to TCRI. Leo literally says like April to stay put, but April's like a little rebellious teen. She doesn't listen to them, so she ends up going on the mission anyway. She doesn't really help. She sort of just like gets dragged away by the Krang when they're fighting someone. It's like the Krang just found like a bag of gold, just like see you later. Just like grabbed April and just like strapped her onto like a bench, like they're gonna be doing open surgery on her. And yeah, she's just basically a liability for most of this episode. But she did put in work. Towards the end, when Raphael did go to save her, she screams. She has like this thing where I think it works like how. When she's like under a lot of stress or when she's about to die, her like woman powers activate and she just goes like ah, and then shit just goes bonkers. She lets out like shockwaves. It's like the fucking who's your shrieking one? Who's your one that's able to scream? In Carnage 2, there's someone who's able to scream, and then in Birds of Prey, there's one who has like the power to fucking use her vocal cords as like a weapon to shatter glass and shit. Yeah, she's basically able to send the shockwave out, knock out a bunch of crime, giving Raphael enough time to rescue her, and she just cleared out all the clones, bro. She cleared out all this ink people. They're like giant, basically humanoid sacks full of ink, and she actually killed all of them. So yeah, she's still pretty shit at fighting, but she's kind of getting a little bit better at it, and she has like kind of early telekinesis superpowers. She also done quite a bit as well when it was with she done like quite a bit in other episodes as well, like with the whole invasion thing. When the Krang first started to invade, she was actually, helping with Donnie. And there's a part where there's like this giant fucking space worm, coming after them, trying to swallow them alive. And Donnie, he had like salt. They're like snails. They come from a different dimension, but it might as well be from this dimension because they still hate salt or something. They just don't like being seasoned. And Donnie, let the salt out, and then April started fanning that shit up. It started looking like, baby powder was just in the air. And it actually slowed down the worm. She also managed to tame the worm as well. Have no idea how she managed to tame a giant-ass alien worm. All she had to do was just hop on it and ride the thing and, basically use it as like a horse. And she actually managed to kill Tiger Claw at that. She's the one that killed Tiger Claw, which is a bit crazy. She wasn't even trying to do that. She basically controlled the worm, then decided to go up in through like the underground up to the surface, and Splinter's fighting Tiger Claw first. Tiger Claw tried to fly at Splinter, but Splinter hit him away, and his jetpack was damaged, so he ended up flying straight into like the worm and basically just got swallowed alive. So she killed Tiger Claw. There would be also times where she would still try to fight back no matter what. I will say, when she was confronted by an enemy, she'd always try her best to fight back. She wouldn't cower, except for the start of this series. But yeah, she was still trying to fight back, like when she got captured by Baxter Stockman, and Baxter was gonna combine him into two. He was willingly gonna make him and her like Siamese twins, and they were just gonna become one, because then he'll be stronger than ever. I don't know what sort of fucked up kinky shit bro is trying to do, but yeah, she's actually trying to fight him and trying to escape. And she becomes, I think this might be her best season yet, actually, where she's most handy, where she's much more sharper tool in the shed. In season 3, pretty much the Turtles, they just got booed out of their camp. They got booed out of their city. A bunch of fucking foreigners just came over and took that shit over and just see you later, bye bye. The Krang came over and basically colonized in New York City, and she has like this old farmhouse that they basically stayed there for like half of season 3, I'd say, and she's pretty handy there. I think one of her biggest moments there was when they were fighting basically in this episode. There's like this big chimera creature thing. I don't know. It's like, I can't remember how it started. I think it started with like a fish eating a worm, and then a bird eating a fish, and then they got infected with mutagen, and then they ended up becoming this big ass fucking Lovecraftian creature of like a worm fish all mixed into one. And she basically had her mind, she had her eyes transferred to the big chimera. The chimera needed to borrow her eyes for a bit. She's gonna give them back to her by the end of the day. And basically she's seeing through the chimera. And even when she was blind, at this point Leo has like he has a broken leg, and he has like the gay voice as well. It's like he flicked the switch up to gay because he got fucked up in the last season. Shredder and his goons, they battered him, bro. They broke him up. They turned him gay. They beat the gay in him. So she basically, the whole team gets captured by the chimera. They put in the nest. April and Leo. Leo is the one that's like, oh, I can't do it. My leg's kind of useless, man. I can't really walk on it. And then April's like, yes, we can, bro. We can go do this. You're the leader. You're not some little pussy ass bitch. You're like the big Sigma male of the group, or the big alpha male of the group. So April, she's blind, and she's still willing to go help Leo. She's still motivated, basically be like, let's go save the team, let's go save the crew. And she's also able to also able to point out where like people were through the eyes of the chimera. She's able to get on top of the Chimera and not shit herself. She's fucking fearless. Her and Casey are pretty fearless in the show with the shit that they do. And she's on top of the Chimera. She's able to hit it in the head, and she's able to, assist in rescuing the turtles. In the next season, she gets pretty much more better, fighting the footbots and stuff like that. When for the second half of season 3, they basically come back to New York City, and Karai, she's still determined to fight, and she's still determined to actually, go save everyone. She wants to save her dad, and her mental powers have been getting pretty much stronger as well, because she's able to tell everyone. She's able to read the entire New York City like it was a map that she saved into her brain, and she's able to tell there's only 100 people left in the city, and that millions were gone. I have no idea how she's able to do that. That must be some OP ass shit. But yeah, she's able to they're in the first in episode 9. She's able to fight some footbots, and she's actually the one that brings Splinter back into real world, bro. Splinter's conscience was in a different planet. Splinter, he pretty much, after he got the shit kicked out of him by Shredder, Splinter, he basically turned into a regular ass rat, just a giant ass rat, as if he has rabies or something. Because it's like Shredder beat the common sense out of him. He beat him so hard he turned him mental. So she pretty much, brings him back into reality. At first, when she tries to do it, it doesn't work, because he looks at Kate. She basically puts her hands up to Splinter. He's like, "Yo, remember, Splinter? It's us. It's the turtles and shit. We're the homies." And it doesn't work. So then she does it again. It works. He's back to the land of the living. And Splinter, he ends up being back alive, and that ends up being important for that episode, because in that episode, when I come back, Baxter Shithead, he has these 3 mutated bodyguards. He has Jack Doherty. He borrowed Jack Doherty's bodyguards, and the turtles, they were getting slimed by these bodyguards until Splinter stepped in and basically took them all out. He's some martial artist. He's able to take him over the big forearms dude from Ben 10 as well, and just send him and chuck him into a fan and turn him into a smoothie. So pretty much that was season 3. Now we're on to the space arc. Yes. Okay, and then we have not that much left to go. So yeah, we're on the space arc. In the space arc, she actually does a little bit. She does quite a bit more with her telekinesis, and there are times. There's a moment here where she saves the whole team as well. So in this one, they basically go to this rage planet, and on this rage planet, it used to be this beautiful planet, but then it got corrupted for some whatever reason, and as she finds. They find this Aeon star, and basically what they have to do is they have to put it in the staircase. So she's the only one that's willing, save this planet. She's the only one that's willing, put the star in there. And anyone else is I don't really care. This planet's cooked. We're not cooked though. So can we leave? So she runs up the staircase, puts it in its pedestal, the giant ass star, and the planet all ends up going back to normal. She ends up getting a piece of that shit, and that basically makes her telekinesis more powerful. And with this crystal, she's able to do a whole lot more stuff. She's able to do the most simplest stuff that she could have probably done without the crystal. Move a drink and throw it at this giant bug man, who's basically Lord Dreg, the king of insects. So if you stomp on an ant, he will show up and break your legs. And she basically just does that, distract Lord Dreg, making him think that Armagon's the one that threw it is this shark bounty hunter dude, and they both fight each other. While they're distracted, she goes to save the boys, because in that episode they got captured, and because in the episode Raphael's girlfriend, the lizard woman, I don't know, she ended up leading the turtles straight to Lord Dreg's lair, because they're gonna kill Lord Dreg, and she basically ended up delivering Lord Dreg his feast pretty much, because they're going to make their planet better or something. So now the turtles are captured. Abel goes in and saves them by shooting down a tentacle, and they get to use it as a rope to climb out. She also does other simple stuff with it as well. As soon as when there's an episode where they end up getting taken to this gladiator battle by the Triceratons, and April and Casey, they have to save the turtles. She's able to find the generator piece, the black hole generator, and she's able to bring it around with Casey. And when they have to escape, the ship is invisible, but she's able to use her her magical meth crystal, to make the ship uncloak pretty much. And they would have been lost. They've been floating in space for ever, mannequins or something. If they could have not seen the ship, or maybe they just would have actually bumped into it. But yeah, she's able to do simple stuff like that with the crystal. But the crystal actually does end up being a magical meth crystal, because she ends up being addicted to that shit. And there's an episode where Donnie, he's trying to work, trying to I don't know. make her control the crystal better. He like tries to get the crystal off her to study his properties, but she's like super possessive of it. She's acting as if like Donnie's trying to take her newborn child from her or something, because she's like, no, it's my crystal. You stay the fuck away from it. This is mine only. You know, she doesn't want anyone touching that shit but her. So yeah, she ends up going crazy in that episode. That crystal basically ends up, possessing her. It's like this, I don't know, entity called Xanaron. I mentioned her in my episode where she's like the most OP villain, pretty much. She goes fucking sicko mode. She like, starts folding Splinter, bro. One of like the toughest dudes. And she just starts folding him like nothing, like a launcher or some shit. She ends up floating up out of the sewers. What the shit was that, bro? I keep thinking there's someone in my gaff. But anyways, she ended up throwing up out of the sewers above like the sky, she be in space then, above like New York, and basically started analysing all of them, be like, look at all these pathetic worms, they need to be cleansed, they need to be saved. And she does do some good in this episode. She like saves Casey Jones from Tiger Claw and Fish Face and all by just chucking him about the place. She ends up like saving some old grandma by just, chucking Hun as well. So she does do something good, but I think one of the worst things she does in this episode, which is, pretty cracking when I first saw it, is she ends up obliterating Donnie, bro. It's like, bro, Donnie liked you, and that's just like the harshest way to reject him. You just like basically floated him up above like Channel 6 News Tower and just made him go like inside out for a bit and just like turn him into ribbons and just, made him disappear. I'm like, bro, for a kid's show, that's pretty messed up. They just straight up erased him from existence. You just like obliterated, Donnie, like Thanos, doing the Infinity Snap and just turning everyone into dust. So, yeah, the fucking, Crystal ends up having a bad influence over her, but she does end up having the mental power to, decide to let go. It's literally like an addiction, because when, she literally does decide to be like, right, I'm addicted, I need to let go of this shit. So she takes it off, smashes it onto the ground, and kills the demon that flies after her. And she brings Donnie back as well. She ends up actually, that crystal ends up being really handy as well towards Shredder, and really does kind of save him a bit as well, because it gets to a point where Shredder, he's like such a pussy. He wants to kill the turtles so badly, he can't even be bothered, facing them in his natural form, because Splinter bet the shit of him last time. He ends up using like mutagen to turn himself into Super Shredder. He gives himself superpowers. It's like, I don't know, Green Goblin using the serum, give himself superpowers. He turns into like this big hulking behemoth, like this fucking meatball with razor blades, pretty much. And the team is fighting them, but they're kind of having a tough time because this guy, he's just fucking built massive. But she ends up actually doing some bits of him, like throwing stuff at him. He just puts her down by just shooting blades at her. But then when Splinter dies, bro, she ends up getting so mad. She's acting as if she's on her period or something. She gets that pissed. She ends up screaming, and she just chucks Shredder off the edge of the building, and basically ended the fight there. So yeah, she's pretty essential in that one as well, because how else would they kill them? She's done and threw him off the building. So yeah, her telekinesis. That was pretty much Karai's part of the video done. I'm not sure how long this video is gonna be. I have a feeling it's gonna be a pretty long one. Basically with April, she started off as like a damsel of distress, and she ended up being pretty skilled fighter with her telekinesis as well. And then next up, we're gonna go with is Karai. So Karai, pretty much how her story starts is that she first meets Leo after Leo and Raph had a heated argument about who should be the leader. So at first in the season, she actually just she doesn't really take the threat that much seriously. She kind of just starts like kind of playing with them. She starts just like wants to play fight with them pretty much, because I think she secretly likes Leo at this point. And yeah, she's just kind of fighting them. She's trying find out more stuff about the Krang. And she also does try to help him sometimes as well, just to separate their differences for a bit, and just find out more stuff about the Krang and stuff. And then when Tiger Claw comes into the mix, she ends up eventually kind of finding out about her family as well. So at first, when Tiger Claw was in, Tiger Claw, he kind of robbed her position of like second in command, and basically she had to go help Tiger Claw bring bring Splinter to Shredder. And they actually do manage to bring Splinter to Shredder. She ends up being pretty obedient to Tiger Claw. Tiger Claw says, do it now, and she ends up spitting a fucking dart on Splinter's neck. and Splinter ends up being brought back to Shredder's place. But I feel like at this point she was still kind of more like she kind of did start believing that maybe Splinter is the good guy. But I don't think so actually, no, because she basically Splinter was tied up. Shredder's about to execute her, and then she's like, "Ray, hang on, you're just gonna like kill your enemy while he's down, bro. You wanted to have like a normal ass fight, bro. You're having him chained up, but not just like let him free." So she basically just tells him, let him free, and then she basically just said she done it because you look so pathetic, and they're like, nah, you love your daddy, bro. You want your daddy to live. So yeah, at this point, she ends up finding out about her family, and next time when Tiger Claw comes back, she's obedient at first, but then when she makes it to the turtles' base, and to basically go find the turtles where they're hiding out at, she ends up making it in the base. She still activates her tracker because she didn't trust them quite yet, but then when she'd seen the picture, like the other half of the picture that she had, like of her mother and all, and what her dad looks like, then she fully believed, these guys are like my family. These guys are pretty much, my siblings and all. And then she completely regretted inviting Tiger Claw, because then Tiger Claw comes around, beats the shit out of the turtles, takes Karai back, and then Karai does get saved and brought back to the base. But then she ends up going back on her own to, fight Shredder. I'm like, bro, the tits on her, bro. She just decided to, go fight her own dad on her own. And, Shredder's pretty much like one of the best fighters in the show. Shredder literally taught her everything she knows, and she just still decided to go back on her own. A bit retarded, but, yeah, she does not really seem to give a shit at all. And then she gets turned into a snake. So, her snake art pretty much consists of her being, like, mindless. She kind of goes a little bit crazy and wild like at the start. She doesn't really, she's not really on any side. She's just kind of on her own. Like she's just free roaming. Like in the episode where they're looking for her, Ivan and Zek are also looking for her because they want to basically use her as a get out of jail free card. Basically give her to Shredder. In exchange, he gives them like free safe passage out of the city. They end up finding her at like this carnival park pretty much, and when they actually eventually do find her, get to talk to her, they can't demutate her because she's immune to that retro mutagen, bro. That shit did not work. And she even like knows herself that she's going a bit insane. Like Leo tries to get her to come back, and she's like, no, it's too dangerous. Mind is going. So then she just swims away. She basically just wanted them to meet her at the comic, just to say, all right, see you later. I'm just gonna go north. I'm gonna go somewhere else and stay there for a bit. And at the end of the episode, she gets captured, and then she ends up being controlled. Now, this is when she is at her most evil as well. She actually this might be one of her like darkest parts in this series, bro. She nearly like kills all the turtles because at first, when she becomes evil, Shredder has like Baxter stock and put in like this fucking mind control worm into her ear and like basically control her that way. I'm thinking this guy is so delusional. He thinks this is like freeing her. He thinks this is the only way to like get her back on her side. He will not let her grow the fuck up, bro, and let her do her own thing. Like, holy balls. Like, when she's evil, she doesn't really hold back at all. Like, at first, she was kind of evil. She's just basically doing what, like, Shredder told her to do. She's basically just, like, a lapdog. But now she just, like, just increased it by tenfold. Because when she's evil, she ends up luring, like, all the turtles. And she ends up getting April, actually. April ends up having a nightmare about snakes. And then she ends up waking up with, like, a bunch of those evil demon noodles in her bed. She ends up being poisoned by those snakes that Karai left in there. And she ends up luring the turtles out one by one. Like, first with Donnie, she ended up faking, like, an April's voice on the phone to him. And basically saying, like, yo, the Kranger here. You need to come help me, Donnie. And, Donnie comes. He gets got. Oh, no, wait, no, that's a completely different episode. Yeah, I was mentioning a completely different episode. At first, she gets Casey. She, shits Casey for a bit. And she's like, and she basically gave him like the kiss of death. Ended up poisoning him, so then he's the first one to get got. So then Raphael and Mikey, they're on their way, like basically like a makeshift ambulance. They're gonna bring Casey back to the base, but then she ended up planting snakes in their van as well. I don't know how she had the time to put those snakes in the van. She must have been like super quick with it or something. Because, like, those snakes, it seemed like they were already in there. Or maybe she just put them on, like, Casey Jones. She kind of treated Casey Jones like a Vietnamese soldier, bro. Like, how Vietnamese soldiers would have snakes in their backpacks. And they would, like, be let out when they die, when the Americans would try to loot them. It's kind of like that. So, Raph, Mikey, and Casey end up being poisoned. Leo and Donnie end up, go and confront Karai. Donnie also ends up being, he also ended up passing out. Leo had to, save the boys and knock some sense into Karai. And then the next episode in the fourfold trap, she basically just puts all the 4 turtles in like these traps. She ends up putting Raphael in like this, oven room. She's gonna turn him into like a baked turtle. She ended up putting Donnie in like, a VR headset where she has to play like Tetris real life, and he gets zapped enough times he'll get cooked, literally, like killed. And Mikey, she ended up like putting her on like a toilet. He's just gonna get shot to death. And then with Leo, she basically put in like this giant ass ball that looks like something out of Portal. I never played Portal. I just seen what it looks like and seen some clips of it. And he basically just like a giant spinning ball with swords. And they all end up getting out of the trap. And what's it called? This is the episode where Splinter managed to knock the brainworm out of her. He done like this being glow but doubly. And I ended up doing like this matcha healing spell on Karai. She ended up coughing that shit out like it was phlegm. And that was like her evil arc. And that, like, when she was evil, she was, she nearly had the whole team as well. She, like, if it wasn't for Leo, the whole team would have been cooked, bro. And Splinter would have been, like, would have been, childrenless. He would have had no children left, which is, like, the closest the Turtles have ever got to, being killed as well. It's not even by Shredder, it's by April as well. So it gets, like, maybe the mind control worm was just, like, kind of what she could do. She was like at her most evil, like she's really capable if she like was evil and angry enough to do this shit, which is pretty cracked. She managed to put that poison is OP as fuck. They got like all of them except Leo. He's able to tank through all of that. There's also an episode where it kind of shows how tragic her backstory is. So basically the Turtles in this episode, they go back in time with Renette, and they like end up going back in time. You get to see a scene of Shredder and Splinter fighting when they're both human. So then Karai, she's basically just underneath a chair. It's like she's getting shelter from the chair or something. I don't know what the fuck she's doing there. It's just like Splinter decided to leave her here, be like she trusted the ants and worm. He trusted the ants and worms, babysit her for a bit, and she's just sitting underneath the chair, and she's just near a burning building. Well, both are like her dad and her dad's best friend, and basically both fighting. And the way Shredder would always kind of have the story is that like, oh yeah, you did this, you killed the mother, you burnt my face on, you did this to me. He basically brainwashed Karai her whole life, basically saying that like Hamato Yoshi is the bad guy. In the scene, you literally get to see like a log of shit just like hit him in the face and burn his ass, and then he just takes Karai and just like runs away with her. He just like straight up took her and be like, I'll care for you, and just like went left off. It's like that's pretty evil, bro. He probably must have thought Splinter was dead or something. I'd say that's why, but still pretty evil. After she got controlled, after she got the worm knocked out of her, she ends up being on the same side as the Turtles, pretty much. But she ends up not being as good as a fighter as she used to. But she does end up going against tougher opponents. So in the first episode, like where she teams up with her, she ends up getting fucked up by Tiger Claw. She ends up having to fight Hun, but then Leo comes in and saves her ass. During this arc, she's more rebellious. She's more determined to go kill Shredder, and she wants to fight Shredder on her own. But she's because she like sees the truth, so she's like I'm gonna kill Shredder no matter what it takes, and she does end up struggling through that. She ends up going against like these super robots. Even like a robot managed to get her, but the robot just, started grabbing her and just started like crushing her up as well, just like a sandwich or some shit, like during the episodes when she tried to bomb a bot factory. She's basically going after like Shredder's corporations, trying to weaken his empire pretty much. But when she was in the bot factory, she ended up actually bombing that shit, and she didn't really care. Like she's just gonna absorb the bomb or some shit because she bombed it and she ended up being damaged, but then she ended up healing up from it as well. She didn't really care. Alright, I'm recording this 4 days later because at the time I was recording this, why does my hair always look so shitty in recordings, bro? Anyways, at the time I was recording this on like the 19th, it's like now the 23rd, I realized the video was getting actually quite so long, and I was thinking, what, I might just record this part some other day. I will try to shorten down the video a bit. But I guess it is what it is. I can't really short it out without like removing some parts and pieces, and then the video kind of wouldn't like make no sense. There'd be like too much cuts. It'd be kind of just me talking about random shit. I don't even think the video's that long. It's not even like 40 minutes, but it's probably one of the longest videos I made. But anyway, we got into like the final part of Karai's arc. Pretty much, this is the part where Super Shredder is, coming back, and little family reunion. Super Shredder shows up at the gaff, and her and Shitty straight away. Karai's not scared or anything. She hasn't seen her dad for like a decade or something, and not even a decade. What the fuck am I talking about? She hasn't seen her dad for like a good long while, and the first time seeing her dad is like when he's just taking super steroids, and she doesn't, she's not scared or anything. So her and Shitty, they are straight to it. They're straight up attacking her. They're like, okay, you don't really care. You just want to kill your dad no matter what. Like when she said she's gonna kill her dad, she meant that she's gonna kill her dad. Like even if bro had like Superman powers, he was gonna slice his neck open. So her and Shinny start fighting his dad. But the dad, he's just like too good, and also he's just too strong. He has blades everywhere. He's too big and massive. So he ends up beating both of them. He ends up slamming Karai down to the ground. I think the only thing that was saving Karai at this point is the fact that his dad's still somewhat tiny, little schmiddy, little kind of like, breadcrumb of, still has like a breadcrumb of love for her. Because, she threatened to, beat the shit out of Shinny if Karai just, didn't listen to him. So then, Karai ends up getting chained up like a coat hanger. Bro just chained her up like a fucking, leather jacket or something. To lure Splinter out. So, Shredder ends up fighting Splinter after, he came, rescue Karai. They end up falling down like this abyss. And Karai, she still has not given up. Oh, she's still wanting to go. Like, even when, Splinter is supposed to be dead, he's, like, in the fucking bottomless pit or whatever. He's down there with, like, the dead Rat Master. She still wanted to kill the foot boss for Splinter. She's, like, still going. She's gonna kill Splinter. She's gonna kill Shredder no matter what. Like, respect, bro, to be honest. And, then, on the surface, she does end up fighting, Shredder. Shredder ends up fighting Leo, and, Leo is just outmatched by Shredder. So Shredder kind of grabs Leo, and kind of what the foot boss done to Karai in the episode where she tried to bomb the gaff. He's starting, crushing him up, and she actually saves Leo twice in this interaction. The first time, she saves, Leo is by basically telling him, put him down, and then, they can start fighting, and she couldn't really get any, weak spots. April was in on this as well, and, kind of saved her ass when he threw the lorry at her, and she just lifted it up. And then Shredder went to, get Leo again, and then she, played the, I'm your daughter guy, don't you want to, do something good for once? Don't you want to do something without vengeance, and without malice and all, kind of making, Saki be like, wait, hang on, what am I doing, bro? I'm just, being a big monster for no reason. So she still kind of has that thing that she had earlier on, where she'd use, her, I don't know, she kind of used deception, she kind of, play, the victim card, kind of, make herself look weaker than she actually is to let someone's guard them. It's still great that she's still using that. It's a pretty handy skill for her to have. She actually does end up getting a hit on Shredder. But I feel like what could have ended it, straight away, then and there, without Splinter dying in the series is, if instead of just, punching him, just giving him, fucking a heart punch or making him, throw up blue parade, she could have just, quickly, I don't know, took out, a little small blade and just stabbed him in the heart. Or even, stabbed her in the heart with the sword, but he might have blocked that. But they're, really, close to each other. Bro, he could just, sniff her. They were that close. So, she ends up punching Shredder. Shredder runs away. And then when she's hanging out with the mute animals, she's at their base. Shredder still shows up. He fucking bombards into the place, beats the shit out of everyone. Karai still tries fighting Shredder. She's not giving up. And then, this time, she had no option to go for the heart because she ends up, poking her sword at his heart, and he literally has a heart made of stone. That's heart shattered the shit out of the sword. So, so then she gets knocked off of the bridge. She ends up being hospitalized, and that was pretty much the end of Karai in the 4th season. And so pretty much with Karai, she just kind of started out was a Akuno each for the foot. She wasn't really taking her job seriously. She's still pretty skilled. She's able to hold her own against the turtles. She was still loyal to her dad because she didn't really know any truth about Splinter or anything. But she wasn't that stubborn to be loyal to her dad. Because when she found out the truth, she started, believing them. And she stopped really, loving Shredder. She actually really fucking hated him for all the, lies she, put into her head over the years. So, she has loyalty, to Shredder when they tried to assassinate him on the docks. She still went in and saved his ass. She's, super loyal to him. But then when she found out it was, the complete opposite. She just wanted, murder his ass. She's able to, I don't know. She ended up being the bad guy, but she's able to, change her ways. She wasn't completely, deep into wanting to kill the turtles or Splinter like the Shredder was. So she didn't really pick up on that kind of part of her dad. and then she ended up being hospitalized. She basically started out as like, you know, a fighter, and then she ended up being like a victim. Whereas Karai started out as a victim, and she ended up being like a pretty good fighter, even though she had telekinesis. But yeah, that was my video on Karai in April. Finally got to fucking make it. To be honest, I wrote down way more information than I needed to. That was probably like one of the big reasons as well. I was trying to get as much information as possible. I didn't need to get as much as I got, and I think this video might be pretty long. But yeah, I finally got the video, and yeah, see you later.